So a few months ago, I made a video about SoFi's IPO, and in that video, I invested $1,000 into SoFi, and shortly thereafter, I was really feeling good about the investment, and I actually set up automatic recurring investments, and eventually I ended up owning almost $10,000 of SoFi stock. And things were going great, but then SoFi stock was down almost 40% from my original share price, and is now down almost 13%. So what the heck happened? Am I panicking and selling everything? And where is SoFi stock likely headed in the future? Plus, what are two major upcoming catalysts that could easily push SoFi stock up over 50%? All right, let's jump right into it. What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So, like I said, I did make an entire video on SoFi stock when it went public a few months ago back in June. So if you did miss that video, then definitely check that out. But in that video, I said, and what happens is when more short sellers come to the table, the price gets pushed down, but eventually they will take their profits, and when that happens, things should start to settle out, and hopefully the price will once again start to rise. And based on what I'm seeing so far in this stock chart, that does seem like that's what's going on. So, no, this isn't going exactly how I expected it to go. However, I'm not panicking, and I haven't lost confidence at all. So, what is my next move with SoFi stock, and is now a good time to buy? Well, you've all probably come to expect this, but first of all, you need to do what you want to do with your money and not just blindly listen to some guy on the internet, but here's my take on things anyways. Like I talked about in my original video on this topic, IPOs are notorious for being a little bit volatile, and that's just because it's very difficult for a company to accurately estimate the price that they should go public at. Obviously, they have a whole team of people that help them come up with that number, but sometimes they miss the mark, and the market will make things right one way or another. But I am still incredibly optimistic or bullish on SoFi stock, and if anything, this pullback presents an opportunity to purchase more stock, in my opinion, and that's exactly what I've been doing since I made that original review. So I posted that video in early June right after they went public, and in that video, I bought $1,000 of SoFi stock at around $21.57 per share. Now, considering SoFi bottomed out at almost $13 per share and hasn't been above $20 in several months, you would think that I might be panicking and selling everything, but actually I took advantage of this opportunity, and each month since then I've been buying between $2,000 and $3,000 of SoFi stock. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I do have a little bit more money in one company that I am really personally comfortable with, because if you know me, then you know that I put like 90% of my money in index funds and then I just don't touch it. So having almost $10,000 in one company is a little excessive for me personally. But that just backs the point that I'm trying to make here, that I really believe in not only SoFi as a company, but the entire financial technology industry as a whole, which was probably pretty obvious considering I have built an entire YouTube channel and brand around reviewing financial technology companies. But don't take it from me, because what the heck do I know, but SoFi stock has actually received a number of analyst recommendations from major companies like Morgan Stanley, with some of their top analysts issuing price targets of $25 to $28 within the next year, which would be a significant jump from the sub $20 price that SoFi stock is currently at. Like we've talked about before though, just looking at the price is not really investing, and you actually have to dig into the financials of the company, which is probably why most people don't even bother with this and just buy index funds, because who wants to spend their time digging through a company's financials? Well, don't worry, as a financial nerd myself and someone who loves this kind of stuff, I dug through all of the numbers so that you don't have to. So, in a nutshell, SoFi reported back in March of this year, after the first quarter of 2021, that their revenue was up 232%. And then in June, after quarter two, they reported revenue up over 138% over the previous year. Now, we're still waiting on the quarter three earnings report, and that call is scheduled for November 10th, but right now they're projecting to report a revenue around $255 million, which would be a nearly 10% increase over the second quarter. Okay, so all of that is well and good, but what the heck does that mean for the stock price? What does that mean for SoFi as a company? And more importantly, what does that mean for you if you are either a SoFi customer or a user of their products, or maybe you are an investor in SoFi like myself? Well, if you're an investor, then hopefully that increase in revenue will mean that the stock will continue to gain traction and hopefully provide better returns. But even better, if you're a consumer of SoFi's products, a large part of the reason why companies go public in the first place is to raise capital and ultimately to reinvest back into into the business, so my hope is that SoFi will use this influx of investments that it has received over the past several months in conjunction with their exploding revenue streams, and I'd love to see them use that money to add some new features that have been lacking on this platform for a long time. Now, this is just a rumor and is not confirmed at all, but one of the areas that SoFi has had a large void is that they have no offerings for small businesses, meaning if you are a small business owner or you just have a side hustle and you want to have a separate business bank account, as you should, then you have no way of actually doing this with SoFi, and considering very few fintech companies that focus on personal finances actually have this feature, I would love to see them reinvest some of that money back into SoFi and add a business account option. That's just one idea, but the last data point that I want to share with you before we get into the huge catalysts that I feel are really good news for SoFi is the breakdown of their ownership for institutional and retail investors. Now, that probably sounds incredibly boring, and it kind of is, but this actually is a very important metric because typically institutional investors, who are those larger Wall Street fund managers, have a long-term mentality, whereas retail investors like you and I are much more sensitive to short-term fluctuations in price, and as a result, you might panic sell or panic buy because you have a fear of missing out. And what all of this means is when institutional investors start to buy more and more of a company, then usually that is a good indicator that this is a good long-term hold because, let's be honest, they spend a lot more time looking through a ton of different data points that you and I probably don't really care about or have time to look through. So back in June of this year, institutional investors owned just 11% of the total shares available for SoFi. But here we are just a few months later in October, and institutional investors now own almost 30% of the company, which means this trend is absolutely heading in the right direction, and in my opinion is an indicator that this could be a great time to buy. But again, that's just my opinion, and you need to do your own research and make those decisions on your own. Okay, so numbers are great and all, but there are actually two major catalysts that have been talked about widely by many major firms that they believe could push SoFi stock up over 50% in the coming year. First of all, a lot of us know that federal student loans have been in a very long deferment period since the start of the world turning upside down. And what that means is this has basically removed the need for people to refinance their loans at a lower rate because they aren't paying any interest on those loans currently. However, that deferment period is set to end in the next few months, and when that happens, many individuals who haven't had to make payments on those loans for a very long time will probably go looking to refinance at a lower rate because interest rates are so low right now. And with SoFi's student loan refinancing program making up a significant portion of their total revenue, this could do wonders for their top line and potentially bolster the stock price. But beyond that, the even bigger catalyst in my opinion is that SoFi is on track to receive approval for their national bank charter in early 2022, which is just a few short months away. Now, if you haven't heard me or others talk about this national bank charter with other fintech companies before, then really all you need to know is that this would essentially allow SoFi to be the actual bank behind their products, whereas currently they partner with a ton of other banks who take care of all of the back-end stuff, and SoFi is essentially just the technology company that makes the nice-looking apps and platforms and offers all of the different services. So by essentially being their own bank and having their own bank charter, SoFi is estimated to have a rapid revenue boost in the first year alone of around 10% because they will have access to lower interest rates. So with the student loan deferment coming to an end and SoFi set to receive their national bank charter both in the next few months, I am personally still very bullish on SoFi stock, and if anything, I'll probably be buying more of it. But as always, that is a decision that you need to make for yourself, so I would love to know what you think of SoFi stock down in the comment section below, and whether or not you plan on buying it and why. As always, if you did get value out of this content and you want to help support me, the easiest way to do that is actually by checking out some of my favorite financial tools down in the description below, including one offer from the Point Cashback debit card that will currently give you $100 when you sign up and make your first purchase, so be sure to check that out using the link down in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future, and of course, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it so much. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.